Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to the semifinals showcase for Cold Open Cup. My name is Mappool and I'm here with the one, the man, the myth, the legend, Escape.
Oh, thank you, Mappool, for that amazing intro. Yeah, I hope you guys are excited to see what maps these top 12 teams will be playing for the semifinals. Just as a little note, we are adding one Rice pick and one LN pick. So from semifinals to grand finals, it will be best of 11, first to 6 for you guys. So matches will be a little bit longer, test a little bit more of your skill set. But without further ado, we can go ahead and get right into the Mappool showcase. Yes, this wouldn't be the first or second map that they've had. They've had Arcade Busters featured in the Rice 2 slot, as well as Regulus last round. So this is, I believe, their third map. It's gonna be the Rice 1 pick, pretty standard jump stream at 185, or no, sorry, 182 BPM. Yeah, even as you see here, a couple of bursts laid in just to keep you on your feet, kind of reminiscent of Mad Hatter from round of 16. However, this one is a lot longer, it being 3 minutes and 11 seconds. And honestly, in this map, you really do not get a break. So consistency is key here. I'm now just receiving word that apparently Mappool, your mic is not being outputted while I'm streaming.
Oh.
It was when you switched to OSU.
Yep. Let me see if I can figure it out. Okay, is it better now?
Alright, Chad, gotta tell us if
Please tell me.
your Mappool and stuff, it's just me like responding to me. Alright, there we go, thank you.
Alright. Yeah, well, as I was saying before I muted, technically, yeah, this map is actually gonna be, I feel, quite a bit stressful just because of 3 minutes, as Escape was saying. It's gonna be quite easy just to get a miss on randomly. Because even though these patterns seem a bit simple, they kind of have like layers to them that just don't really like seem the easiest to play in general.
Yeah, and it's, again, especially when you're getting to around this point, you should be gassed out by now, and I think dropping act is a huge deal here. We've seen it time and time again where in certain stamina maps, even some stamina picks, a lot of people drop act at around that like 2.5 to 3 minute point.
Yeah,
and it really is just a flurry of just jump stream notes over and over again. Does not give you a break. So if you are kind of, you know, a physical fiend, this is definitely one to be on your watch list.
Yeah, and even our replayer here, getting a 200 at the end of that, just kind of showing just how brutal these maps can be, especially just because of their lengths alone. But going on to Rice 2 now, Reime's Sketchbook. And this is a map that some of y'all may know.
Yes, it was recently featured in the Combro Cup, albeit at frequency +1. This is going to be the base rate, so it is just regular 238 BPM streams.
Yeah, and also featured in Soft, the Springtime Oceania Free-for-All tournament earlier last year actually, now that we're in 2023, so something that is kind of well known as of recently in the community. Durgo being quite a well-known mapper in the past, but really coming in here. Obviously, this map has been used in tournaments, so it's pretty high quality, a lot of decently fast streams that we'll be seeing.
Yeah, and here we get into it. For the most part, I feel like they aren't super chilly. However, there is a point later on in the map, about in the back half, where I think it switches the snappings to 1/6, and you get kind of a little key eye that you're unaware of, and then have to transition back into the streams. And that part really is, I feel, the meat of the map, and it gets really difficult to hold a consistent run on this.
Yeah, and just looking at this map right now, there are a lot of like really slippery streams that really you can catch a bunch of 200s on, especially just like how slippery streams are. If you can't read them, even for like a second, it's just 200s, miss. It is really bad, and I feel like we'll be seeing really good scores on this map and really, or not really bad, but like quite a bit worse scores.
Yeah, I understand that feeling a lot. At this point in the game, streams kind of feel like a sink or swim skill set in tournaments. Kind of similar to Chord Jack, where it's either you can do it and you can do it really well, or you can kind of misread one little pattern and then miss a bunch of notes. So it's a bit polarizing there. So we'll have to see if players can get consistent scores on this one as well. But that's gonna do it for Rice 2. That was our speed pick.
Yep, and here we go. We have Real Q.
Yep, this is going to be the mixed Rice pick. Again, a pretty long map, going on at around 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and this one kind of features a lot of broken streams, and there's a lot of flams honestly throughout, like little bursts of speed.
Yeah, and as we get further into these pools, we'll be seeing the map lengths also grow just so slightly, just since, you know, I feel like these players should be able to play these maps for as long as possible, and as you were saying, just some of these streams coming out kind of difficult.
Yeah, stuff like that, which you just saw, is pretty much rampant throughout the map, going on with the percussion, just a lot of rolls layered to it. So it can get kind of, I guess, stamina draining as you play throughout this map.
Yeah, and there are these like kind of scary bursts just every so often, which can sometimes catch out players. Just maybe baiting out a 200 here and there.
Yeah, I know for me personally, I've succumbed to a lot of 200s in the back half when playtesting this map. It's kind of like the mental stamina wears down on you, where you kind of have to get into the mindset of acting a lot of the easier patterns in this map, and then have to switch modes when the rolls and the little bursts of speed come in.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to see people, like, just the division of players between being able to act this and also being able to play the bursts in this map that always come. And, like, I feel like we'll be seeing a lot of really close maps, or matches on this map specifically, just because of that, just because there's kind of like two breeds of players in this tournament. So it'll be amazing. I feel to watch, especially this map. I hope it's a very popular pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that might lead to this map becoming a popular pick is the fact that it's not super physical like the first two. So I guess if you aren't really a Rice-oriented team, this is something you can definitely pick if you've exhausted all of your LN and HB options.
Yeah, I also want to add that there's like quite a few mini jacks in this map, so that is something that if you're not good at mini jacks, just understand that it's in this map every so often, so be sure to at least practice that a bit. But we will be coming to the end of this map. There was like a little hand stream section, and that's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, it kind of gets you at the end there, but regardless, that is gonna be it for Rice 3. That was our mixed Rice pick, and that was Q by Real.
Yep, and we'll be moving on to Rice 4 right now. It'll be fly a rocket to the center of your heart.
Yeah, and this is yet another mixed Rice pick. This one's gonna feature a lot more kind of faster side of jump streams. You'll see a lot of that. It's gonna be at 206 BPM as well, so a bit more physical, but we do trade that for the length. This one being under 2 minutes by a decent margin, only 1:44, but you are extremely active throughout this map.
Yeah, and this is a Ray chart, which I think we saw an earlier Ray chart, but it was actually the Funk map.
Yeah, shoot, that was Starving Days of last round.
There we go.
Glad I had the map pulling sheet up. But yeah, you guys do see a lot of like broken jump stream kind of patterns here, and you know, a lot of chords to hit as well. Pretty speedy.
Yeah, it's really just these broken jump streams layered in with chords while it's kind of having some breaks, but I think it's just that this map is pretty consistently difficult, and here we see some one-handed trills on both hands actually, but just alternating, so you know, that happens.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could call that like a little ki before you get into this last break, into the last fourth of the map. Just gonna finish off with what we've seen pretty much throughout the entire map. Broken jump stream I was talking about, and then hitting the chords. Get a little jump jack action here, and we're just gonna finish this off really cleanly. This was Fly a Rocket to the Center of Your Heart. This was another mixed Rice pick for Rice 4.
Yeah, that map, very interesting. I feel like we haven't really seen any broken jump streams in the other maps, so if you're a fan of those, be sure Rice 4 is your call. But we'll now be moving on to Rice 5, a quite popular map, I feel, in the higher rate or higher diff, but it's going to be Black Ray by Mifa.
Yes, and this is the another difficulty. If you guys remember Perspective from round of 16, this is a lot like that map, albeit at 174 BPM.
Yeah, and I just want to add that the map says that it's 4 minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes, but in reality it's somewhere around 2 minutes, like almost 3 minutes, just because I think the first minute or so is actually cut from the map, or just not mapped at all since it's kind of boring. But as you were saying, this is very similar to Perspective, which was the song that we heard earlier, having a lot of like mini jacks, some streams layered in.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I believe you're right. Dream time is something like 248, 250. But again, you guys see here that pretty much get a mini jack every like measure or so that you are hitting the jump stream sections, and pretty much it's going to be a test of your stamina, because this is again the stamina pick. It is at 174 BPM, so a slight reduction in BPM compared to Rice 1. Similarly, how to it is jump stream, but again, it does go on for just as long, and I think the mini jacks really do drain the stamina, especially if you are trying to accurately hit every pattern.
Yeah, mini jacks really just drain stamina just because you have to put a bit more effort into it, and that little burst right here, like, this section alone seems really difficult to get good act on, especially after having to play those mini jacks in the first half. And, you know, you get a small break, but in that break it's nerve-wracking just because you do see the opponent's score, and now we're seeing a bit more mini jacks layered into these streams, and it's just really a step up from that first half.
Exactly, because no longer are you hitting single mini jacks, you are hitting a jump and then a jack right after. So just that little extra bit does everything to your stamina. A couple more here, even as you are hitting less notes. Last about fourth of the map, and it just keeps going on and on.
Yeah, and keep in mind with one thing about mini jacks is that if you hit really early on one mini or at the start, it'll really affect the entire like 2 nodes, and that can lead to some problems in certain cases.
Exactly, and I think that pretty much this and Rice 1 are very similar to the difficulty of the Rice 1 pick in qualifiers, so be wary of that because they can really reflect what you might be getting or what your opponent's team might be getting on these kinds of picks. But that was Camellia Black Ray by Mifa.
Yep, and now onto our chord jack map, Baby I'm Yours. So very popular song, and again putting in some pop music into the pool. Very good trait, I feel.
Yeah, this is our chord jack pick, and it's quite a step up from Help Is On The Way. Help Is On The Way, I think, being 105 BPM, and that was a lot of single jacks. This one, however, gonna feature a lot of that 3-2-2-2-2 action. You start off with a 3-note chord and then a lot of jacks after that, a lot of jumps.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to act this really well, it's kind of hard on the stamina alone. I did the replays for this, and I found myself like really having very little stamina at the end. I think I had a run where I got like 1 miss just because of the lack of stamina. And also, that little stream section is surprisingly difficult to play just because it's kind of is unassuming, I feel.
Exactly, having to be in the mindset of hitting all of the jacks and then suddenly have to transition into a little stream section might catch some players off guard, though I feel like with enough practice it shouldn't be too crazy to transition out of it.
Yeah, it's really a sight read check, but after it's literally just chord jack, and here in this chorus this is where the stamina drain comes in, since there's always like one anchor that you have to hold constantly, and it's just difficult.
Yeah, it is extremely hard. However, I think that the length helps a little bit. It's only about 1 minute and 52 seconds, so it's not super long in terms of the other maps in this pool. But however, you can see here some of those jacks go on for quite a while. So I know that Rice 4 has been catching a couple of bans last round for the chord jack map, so I think that this might be similar. Again, kind of like Speed, it's a sink or swim type of ordeal.
Yeah.
But regardless, that was Breakbot Baby I'm Yours, and that was Rice 60 chord jack pick.
Yep, and we'll now be going into Undiscovered Colors by Halogen. And a little fun fact about this map is that it's actually being used in another tournament that's going on right now in this round 32 pool. and that is
Yeah.
going to be 4-digit Mania World Cup right now.
Yes, this is featured in 4DM, which is going on right now. I think the round of 32, albeit at a 1.1, right?
1.05.
There we go. So you guys are basically 4DM players. Congratulations if you've made it to the top 12 of this tournament. This is going to be the tech pick, obviously, as you can see, and usually how flashbulb songs go. A lot of crazy weird snappings and just uneven streams and stuff like that throughout.
Yeah, and this map is fairly short, so misses on anything here is going to be quite brutal, and I feel like there's a lot of miss bait and a lot of 200 bait just because of, as you were saying, the really awkward snapping just coming out of basically left field all over the place. This is going to be something that is very, very difficult to hack. Even if you do FC, you may not have necessarily the best score.
Exactly, and it's so hard to act these patterns. It really depends for this map how good you feel throughout as well, because in the back half there are kind of a lot of mini jacks thrown in at this point, whereas in the first half I think there's just more regular streams, stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a switch up after that break section. You can see here some of these mini jacks being featured.
Yep, and we're coming up to the ending of the map, so even at this point, there's still a chance for people to miss, especially on that one burst.
Yeah, it is thankfully going to close off a little bit more tame than what we've seen throughout the map. But again, as with all tech picks, extremely hard to get an accurate score on this. But that is going to do it for our rice pool. That was rice 7, the flashbulb undiscovered colors. So now we can go ahead and get into the LNs.
Yep, and this is really where I like to preside. We see our first LN pick, Boys in Kaleidoscope. And Dinah, do you got any fun facts about this map by any chance?
Yeah, this is this is featured in a couple of other tournaments. One of them namely being, I believe, GS4T1. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure if it was in MBS either, I forget.
I think
yeah.
it was like a qualifier for MBS. I don't remember the map was exactly. I didn't like study up on those. But this is more of our release focus, correct? Or is this density?
I would call this more coordination. We do have a density pick, and I think we do have a different release pick in mind. Yeah, I would just call this really coordination in general. I guess you could call it a wild card.
Yeah.
That's usually what LN1 has been slotted to throughout this tournament.
Yeah, and I definitely see elements of both coordination and release, just because there are a lot of times in this map where you're kind of holding this one anchor, as we just saw, as well as having to like kind of hit a stream of LNs.
Yeah, and sometimes it can get pretty dense throughout as well. A lot of times where you do hold like 3 notes. So I think it is pretty suitable to call this kind of a wild card plus coordination pick. There are a lot of elements, however, it is pretty short and sweet. Nothing too crazy just yet. It is only a minute 31. That was LN1, Millie Boys in Kaleidosphere.
Yep, and now we go on to LN2 Queendom, the top diff of this map, by Freebex or Vivi.
Yep, everyone's favorite K-pop LN. Yeah, this was a Combro Cup map as well. However, I would just like to say that we did have it in the map pool first. So you
I think it was stolen originally, if I'm gonna be honest. But that's fine. It is what it is. We get to see our 5 digits here actually play some of the pools and combo cups, since I know quite a few of them weren't able to get on our team.
Yeah, and so this is going to be our, I guess you could call this one our release map. I think at least comparatively to Boys and Clydespeare, there's a lot of one-hand staggered releases featured throughout, and those really are, I feel like, the bane of newbie LN players. You do end up dropping a lot of late 200s or chopping the releases when stuff like that does pop up.
Yeah, these releases are actually quite difficult to get good act on, especially just trying to get, trying to basically 1-mil any of these LN releases is quite difficult, and there we see some 1+3 patterns. Already halfway through the map, it's really just a gauntlet of LN release here.
Yeah, just so many changing anchors, and then having to release on different timings consistently can really get you. And as we get into this next chorus, it's pretty much the same as you've seen throughout. Nothing too crazy. However, again, I think that a lot of teams probably will opt to maybe ban this one. Definitely not LN1, but if you are a Rice team, this might be on the watch list.
Yeah, definitely, especially at the second half, which is quite difficult, which is kind of surprising because it's very, very similar to the first half, but I feel like just knowing that you may be on a good run, or knowing that you're in a tournament setting, you just see these kind of dense release, not really necessarily dense in the sense of very physical, just dense in the sense of so many LNs at once. It's just kind of easy to mess up, maybe release late on some of the patterns, or release early, just anything that can happen when it comes to LN maps.
Yeah. This, those two 200s at the end by Sun Apple. But that is gonna do it for LN2. That was Red Velvet Queendom, another K-pop LN pick in this tournament.
Yep, and now we see this is our first or second stability map. It is called IFHU.
Yeah, I freaking hate you. As you'll hear in the lyrics. This one, I think, is another pick for consideration by Rice teams to strike, because this is the density pick. And as you guys know, density can be quite challenging at this point in the game for 5 digits.
Yeah, and as the replay maker for this, I can tell you this map is kind of hard to get really good accuracy on, but I think just to play it by itself, you should be fine. So that's something to know. I definitely recommend at least playing this map once or twice. I think after that you should get a general gist of what the map is. This most likely will be very similar to what happened to Joji Joji Run in the last round, where it's very, very heavily banned.
Yeah, I can expect a lot of bans on this as well. I think that with this map, the scores will be extremely volatile, even on an individual level. Something that I've experienced playtesting this map is just a lot of volatility in the 200s, where I'll get through the map, or I'll get through a section and look in my AC and be like, where did I drop those 200s? So keeping consistency is, I think, a really, really important factor if this map does survive the, protect ban phase.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially judging off how little players really like to play LN2 last round, if you have any semblance of a good LN team, I'd highly recommend protecting this, since you most likely will be able to get a free point on this just because of how, like, little players have been wanting to play these LN, like, release density maps, and, like, kind of the maps that are very, very 200 bait.
Exactly, and even in this little break section, you see a 200. I've experienced a lot of hard breaks on that section. Deceptively hard. Thankfully, after that, it's pretty much the easiest part of the song. But that is gonna do it for LN3. One left to go, but this was I Freaking Hate You.
Yep. Quite a banger in my opinion, but now moving on to the LN4, and the final LN is going to be a custom map by Ballistic.
Yep, so thank you to Ballistic, I know you are in chat, thank you again for making this custom for semifinals.
Yep, and if I'm gonna be honest, the replay name Dynamic Escape, I thought it said Dynascape.
Yeah, I wonder who could have made this replay. This is, I would say, kind of a more techier pick in terms of LN, and it is really extremely fun to play as well. Just a lot of weird rice interspersed throughout the map can really switch things up and really add to the different timings that you have to deal with.
Yeah, and some of these LNs seem like very, very close to each other, so there's a chance that you can double tap, and there we see some reverse shields. So there's really a semblance of every single type of LN pattern here.
Yeah, and I think that's why I like calling it kind of like a techier pick, I guess. Wildcard or tech, really, what have you. Thankfully, honestly, I don't think the hard parts are super long in duration in this map. There are a lot of places that you can gain ACK in, even if you aren't considered a LN team. This is definitely one that is extremely doable and might be on the easier side to FC and maybe take a break point against those LN teams still in the tournament.
Yeah, I feel like this would be one of the more popular LN picks for Rice teams, just because there is quite a bit of Rice difficulty layered onto these LNs. Definitely not as hard as the LNs, just because they're like kind of brutal to play, with kind of really, really tight releases all over the place here.
Yeah, exactly. I think those really tight releases into another LN can be the death view and really end a run. However, that is gonna do it for the LN picks. That was Ballistic's custom of Change by Giga.
Yep, and now finally moving on to our last pool in the regular pool, going to be the hybrids, and we'll be seeing Flamenco House by Lapix, mapped by CRZ Hinako.
Yes, and I think the hybrids really did receive quite a buff in this round as well. I think Flamenco House is extremely hard to get good ACK on. However, if you do, you will be rewarded in kind. It's pretty techy as far as hybrids go. I don't want to give it a category right off the bat, but in my opinion, I do think it's pretty balanced as a map.
Yeah, just like looking at this first third, it has been quite balanced in terms of LN and Rice. That intro was quite daunting in terms of LN, or in terms of Rice, and then like a little after, and also this section, quite difficult to LNs. Just really kind of staggered LN releases on top of just having to play this kind of like pantry Rice.
Yeah, exactly. And then the transition out into kind of the streams and jacks, right back into kind of the LN I guess stream section would be appropriate to call it, it can be really, really tough. Again, at for hybrid picks, one of the best things you can do is be consistent in your transitions in and out of different phases of the map. And this map really does switch it up on you extremely often. So this is definitely something that you have to practice and really nail down, I think, because I think that this map could be kind of a sleeper pick for breakpoints.
Yeah, and also, like, there's quite a few places where you can't take a drop here. So, gonna be interesting to see whether people are gonna be able to FC this consistently. And that will be it for Hybrid 1, or Hybrid 1, yes.
Yeah, that is gonna do it for Hybrid 1. That was Flamenco House by Lapix. Going into Hybrid 2, this one is Sayonara Heaven by Camellia, and I think this one, I would classify this one as kind of the balanced hybrid map in the pool.
Yep, and I think this is what? Oh, never mind. Actually, we had two Camellia maps in this pool. We had Black Gray earlier as well.
Yep.
So here we will be seeing another Camellia song in hybrid, though. How long is this map? Let me see. It is actually quite short. It only just under 2 minutes, a minute 56. So, as like all short maps are, misses are going to be quite brutal here.
Yeah, and I think that one of the deadliest traps in this map are kind of like the LN jacks that appear, especially when the flute comes in. I don't know if that's a flute. That's not a flute. Whatever instrument that is.
Yeah, and here, yeah, I've seen this in quite a few maps, and they're always, every single time I see that, it's like, it's really, really easy to release early, or like double tap, or just really anything can happen to make you mess up, and it's just kind of brutal.
Yeah, I think the flams as well can add a great bit of difficulty to it in this section, and then along with these stagger releases, I think the first half really showcased some of the right side of things, and then the back half really does kick it up a notch with the noodles. So I think it is pretty good. Not a lot of transitions, but they are pretty segmented in its rice and noodle difficulty.
Yep. And now, onto the last hybrid map, and the last map of the regular pool. It's going to be Line Theta.
Yes, and this is the rice-based hybrid in the pool. Get a little background video action as well. It is a very fun video to watch.
Yeah, I believe the song was in BMS Fighters, correct? I think it was like one of those songs. But a tidbit to know about this map is that the higher diff was actually used in last year's 40M. So we have a few maps from other tournaments. However, I think we're still quite diverse, since I don't remember this diff specifically being used in anything. And just looking at this map a bit more, we see a very, very similar to the last map, where we see some of these little LN jacks just consistently coming through.
Yeah, and then I think a lot of the rice difficulty does come into the like speedier sections. A lot of like little bursts that are interspersed throughout the map are present, especially in the kiais that happen.
Yep, and we see a little bit of streams here and there all over the place, basically, so just kind of making sure that you have your rice fundamentals down. On top of really these a bit easier LN sections from some of the other maps.
Yeah, I don't think that the LN sections here can really hold a flame to the ones that we've seen in Flamingo House or Sayonara Heaven. However, that is made up again in kind of the amount of rice that is put into here, as well as honestly the BPM changes as well. Can be really tricky to act these, as you can see in this section here.
Yeah, and we really just hear all these BPM changes basically coming all over the place. And they can definitely mess up some timings if you're not used to like BPM changes all over the place. But I think at this point in the tournament, you've played quite a few like awkward rhythm maps, so you should be fine.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of like a more, it's a pretty techie hybrid as well, kind of like Hybrid 1. But this is going to do it for the regular pool. This was Hybrid 3 Line Theta by Nitro.
Yep, and now it's the time we've all been waiting for. It is the tiebreaker for semifinals.
Yes, this is Black Magic Blazing by our wonderful friend Mint. Do not look at the star rating. Is the first thing I should really say for this star rating. Really is not an indicator of the difficulty provided in this map. I really do believe that it is very appropriate for this pool. There's just a lot of things to trip you up here.
Yeah, and especially if you have played many of Mit's charts, she has a tendency to have very understarred maps, so that's definitely a thing that is here as well.
Yeah, you will see it later on, but I think that this map provides a really good difficulty of hybrid. It is pretty present throughout the map as well.
Yep, and we saw that earlier section having quite a bit of LN and now a bit more rice into this some jacks. If just in case you haven't played the jack maps, I'm sure you do need at least some jack practice.
Yeah, and I think that in the section before it did feature jacks with an offbeat hit on a different column. It's really tricky, and then we get into these bursts here. Featuring some LN, ending off on a little LN section as well.
Yeah, and really this map is just this culmination of basically everything in the pool. You have a slight bit of every single map, I feel, so quite good to see.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that this is this is the third Camellia map we've had in this pool.
That should have been the poll. No.
Yeah, I guess that should have been the poll. Didn't think of it. Not enough foresight. But as we get halfway into the map, kind of like another hybrid-y section here. Some more offbeat hits and a little burst. And it really, I think that these bursts are extremely hard to act. The replayer does make it look like light work, but I think that really when your tournament life is running on the line and you are in the position where you do have to play this tiebreaker, you know, I'm sure you guys all know that nerves like really do get to you in the match, and trying to really replicate your best score sometimes is not a thing that happens.
Yeah, and because of nerves, you can kind of miss all over the place, even in that break, so you're not really safe.
Exactly, and as we get into this build up here, features a couple more jacks, and then here we go with probably one of the hardest parts of the map, just a slew of pretty hybrid-y sections and constantly changing. couple of rice bursts, and then we get into kind of the last section here. And here we go. This is, I feel like it's a little bit faster, but again, a bit more hybrid sections to deal with, and really just starting and ending with an impact and a long note in tandem can be quite hard to act, and especially when you are hitting them not on the right snapping, stuff like that. A lot of things going on in the song musically, and you do have to deal with this last little ki here. A lot of bursts with a couple of schlongs throughout. LN part to finish it off, and hopefully you guys don't break there, but that is going to be it for Black Magic Blazing. That was the TB for the semifinals pool. Hope you guys did enjoy that showcase, because I had a lot of fun pulling it together. And again, as always, thank you to our pooling team for helping out with that. But that is going to do it for the semifinals showcase. Couple of announcements. The statistics sheet is ready to go for last round, for the quarterfinals round. And other than that, I will have the map pool and map pack out for you guys very, very shortly. Just have to type that up. And also we will be putting out schedules pretty much within the hour. So with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy the semifinal showcase once again. My name is Staniscape, and unfortunately Sunapple won't be here to close this out, but thank you again to Sunapple for commentating and streaming. And this has been the Cold Open Cup semifinal showcase. Thank you for watching.